I want you to picture something. It's 2:47 in the morning. You're lying on a pull-out couch in your sister's spare room, the kind with a metal bar that digs into your spine no matter which way you turn. Your 3 kids are asleep on an air mattress 6 feet away. You can hear your youngest breathing, that slow, trusting rhythm that only children have. And you're staring at the ceiling, running numbers in your head that refuse to add up. $0 in your checking account, $14 in cash, a stack of bills rubber banded together on the kitchen counter that you can't bring yourself to open. That was me, 34 years old. And the people who were supposed to love me most in this world had just walked away like I was nothing. Let me take you back 18 months before that night. My name is Sarah. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, the kind of place where everyone knows your business and nobody minds. My family was loud and warm and chaotic in all the ways that felt safe when I was a child. My parents, my older brother Daniel, my younger sister Megan, we weren't rich, but we were tight, or at least I thought we were. When I was 26, I married a man named Marcus. He was funny and handsome, and my mother cried at the wedding. We had our first daughter, Lily, at 28. Then twins, Caleb and Emma, at 31. Life was full. Life was loud. Life was good. And then, piece by piece, it wasn't. Marcus lost his job in the spring. That happened to a lot of people. I didn't blame him. But weeks turned into months, and the job search turned into a second buyer every night. Then a third, then a fourth. I was working full-time at a logistics company, managing shipments, answering emails at midnight. I was keeping us afloat. Just barely, but afloat. Here is where it starts to get complicated. Here is where I need you to pay very close attention. My mother called me one afternoon in September. I remember exactly where I was, in my car in the parking lot of a Walgreens, eating a granola bar because I'd skipped lunch again. "Honey," she said, "I've been talking to Daniel, and we all think that maybe you should consider moving back home for a while. Just until you get back on your feet." Back on my feet. I remember staring at the granola bar wrapper and thinking, I didn't fall. I'm the one still standing. I told her I was fine. I told her we were managing. Of course, she said. And then, softer, almost as an afterthought, we just worry about the children. That sentence? Have you ever had one sentence lodge itself in your chest like a splinter you can't reach? We just worry about the children, not about me, about the children. As if I were already the problem, already the cause of some damage I hadn't yet done. I should have heard what she was really saying, but I trusted her, so I let it go. The next 6 months were a slow unraveling. Marcus and I separated in November. Quietly, no screaming, no thrown dishes, just a conversation at the kitchen table after the kids were in bed, both of us too exhausted to be cruel. He moved in with a friend. I kept the apartment and the 3 kids and the bills. This is when my family stepped in. Or stepped in is how I described it then. Now, I'd use a different word. Daniel started showing up on weekends. He was wonderful with the kids, took them to the park, brought them ice cream, called himself their favorite uncle. My mother brought casseroles and sat with me at the kitchen table and listened to me cry. Megan helped me with laundry. It felt like being held. What I didn't see, what I was too grateful and too tired to see, was the pattern underneath it all. Every visit, one of them would mention how hard things looked, how the apartment seemed cramped, how Lily seemed stressed at school, how maybe, just maybe, it would be better if the kids came to stay with Mom and Dad for a few weeks, just to give me breathing room, just so I could focus on getting my life together. And God, I am still ashamed of this. I said yes. I said yes because I loved my children so much that I believed anyone who claimed to worry about them. I said yes because I was running on 4 hours of sleep and half a granola bar, and I thought their concern was love. Lily, Caleb, and Emma went to stay with my parents in October, just for a few weeks. That was the beginning of the end of the life I thought I had. 4 weeks became 8. 8 became 12. Every time I asked about bringing the kids home, there was a reason. Lily was finally settling into her new school routine. The twins had just gotten over a cold. The timing wasn't ideal. "Have you eaten today, sweetheart? You look pale." I was working double shifts to save a deposit for a bigger apartment. I called my kids every night at 7. Some nights, Caleb would fall asleep on the phone, and I'd just stay on the line for a while, listening to him breathe, because that was the closest I could get to being his mother right then. And then one evening in January, I called at 7, and nobody answered. I called Daniel. He said Mom had taken the kids to a school event. I called back at 8, 9, left voicemails. My mother called me the next morning and told me, very gently, very carefully, that they had spoken to a family lawyer. That given my financial situation and living circumstances, they believed it was in the children's best interest to formalize the arrangement, that they weren't trying to hurt me, that they loved me, that this was about the children. I sat down on the floor of my apartment. The cold of the linoleum came right through my jeans, and I didn't move for a long time. Do you know what it feels like when the ground disappears? Not collapses, disappears. 1 second it's there, and then it simply isn't. I won't lie to you. The next 3 months were the worst of my life. I couldn't afford a lawyer. I was sleeping on my sister-in-law's pull-out couch, Marcus's sister. Ironically, the only person who seemed to understand that what was happening to me was not okay. I was working, always working. But the money went to bills and back rent, and the $47 copay for the therapist I saw twice before I had to stop because I couldn't afford the 3rd session. I cried in parking lots. I cried in bathroom stalls at work during my lunch break, then fixed my face and went back to my desk and answered emails about shipment delays in Guadalajara. And here is where I need to tell you about the receipts. For 14 months, starting from the day Marcus lost his job, I had kept every single financial document I could get my hands on. Every bank statement, every utility bill, every grocery receipt, every tuition payment I made for Lily's after-school program, every copay from the kids' pediatrician visits, every single charge on my credit card that proved I was their mother in the most practical, measurable, daily sense of the word. I don't know exactly why I started doing it. Some part of me, some quiet, watchful part that I wasn't fully conscious of, must have sensed that one day I would need to prove something that should never have needed proving. 156 receipts. I kept them in a manila envelope in the back of my bottom desk drawer at work, under a copy of the company operations manual nobody ever touched. My boss, Richard, was a quiet man in his late 50s. He'd built the company himself over 30 years. He wasn't the type to ask questions he didn't need answers to. But he was observant in the way that quiet people often are. And one afternoon in March, he stopped by my desk and asked if I had a minute. He closed the office door. He sat down, and he asked me if everything was all right at home. Something about the directness of it broke something open in me. I had been holding the story in for so long, managing it, containing it, keeping it pressed down beneath the surface, that when someone finally just asked, it came out in fragments. Halting and disorganized and punctuated by the kind of crying you do when you've been not crying for too long. Richard listened to all of it. He didn't interrupt. When I was done, he asked one question. "Do you have documentation?" I looked at him. "The receipts," he said. "The financial records. Do you have them?" I opened my bottom drawer and put the manila envelope on his desk. He looked through them for a long time. He didn't say anything for a while. Then he looked up at me and said, "I know someone you should talk to." Richard knew a family law attorney named Patricia. They'd met through a civic board years ago. He called her that afternoon. She met with me the following morning, pro bono. Because Richard asked her to, and because when she heard the outline of the situation, she said, quietly, that what had been done to me was not legal. The 156 receipts told a story that my family had tried very hard to erase. 14 months of proof that I was present, that I was providing, that I was the primary financial caregiver for my children, even during the hardest stretch of my life. Patricia filed an emergency motion within the week. My mother called me the night before the hearing. Her voice was different, thinner, more careful. She said she hoped we could resolve things without involving the courts. She said the children were happy and settled. She said she loved me. I told her I would see her in the morning. I want to describe the courtroom to you because I think the details matter. It was a Tuesday, February light, coming through high windows, flat and gray, and somehow appropriate. My mother and Daniel sat together on one side with their attorney. I sat with Patricia on the other side with my manila envelope. Patricia presented the receipts one by one. 14 months of grocery runs and medical co-pays and school supply purchases and clothing and birthday cake from the bakery on Elm Street. The judge reviewed them quietly. She asked my mother's attorney several questions. The answers were not satisfying. At one point, the judge looked directly at my mother and asked her to identify the month in which my children's health insurance premiums had lapsed. My mother looked at her attorney. The attorney looked at his notes. They both went quiet. The answer, if anyone had cared to look, was they hadn't. I had paid them every single month automatically, out of an account that had sometimes held less than $200. I had let my own dental cleanings slide for 14 months to keep that payment current. The judge ruled in my favor. My children came home on a Thursday evening. Lily ran across the parking lot and hit me so hard she nearly knocked me over. The twins grabbed both of my legs simultaneously and refused to let go. I stood in that parking lot for a long time, holding on to them, not moving, not speaking. I'm not going to tell you that everything is perfect now. Life doesn't work that cleanly. What I will tell you is this. The instinct I had to keep records, to document the unglamorous daily evidence of being a mother, saved me. It saved my children, not a dramatic confrontation, not a clever speech, paper, ink, dates, and amounts, and the quiet accumulation of truth. If you are in a situation where the people around you are rewriting the story of your life, start writing your own version down. Bank statements, emails, dates, and times of phone calls. The receipts for the small things that nobody else notices. You don't have to know yet why you're keeping them. Keep them anyway. And if someone offers you help, really sees you, and asks if you're okay, let them. I almost didn't. I almost said I'm fine to Richard that afternoon, out of habit, out of shame, out of the exhaustion of always being the one who holds it together. You are not a burden for needing someone to open a door. Write 1 in the comments if you think I was right to keep those records. Write 2 if you think you would have confronted your family sooner. And tell me what city you're watching from and what time it is where you are. I read every single one.